Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, Diana and the Book Hunt. I kind of have been feeling very melancholy, kind of like in a summertime blues situation because I came back from my holiday, and you know when you come back from a holiday you feel like all the good times are over. That's what I've been dealing with this past week. So this is the first time when I've kind of kicked myself in the butt to sit down and film my latest kind of wrap up that I need to share with you of the books that I've read in the later part of July. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and kind of try to transition into normal routine. I did read a couple of interesting books, a couple of 4-star reads, and a couple of reads that I had hoped I would like more, but I'm just going to share with you what my reads were in the past couple of days. I've been reading books by authors that are going to be at Rare in Florence. I've mentioned this before, that the last couple of weeks I've really focused on authors that I'm hoping to meet in this at this event. So I'm going to tell you all about those. And the first one actually is by Natasha Boyd. I've read a couple of other books by Natasha Boyd that I've absolutely loved, like Broken French was the latest one that I really loved. And I saw that Storytel has another audiobook by this author that I wanted to try out. It's called Eversea, but I really didn't kind of research anything about it, so I didn't know what it was about. And unfortunately it kind of had tropes that in some way I'm kind of over at this stage in my life, because it's a bit new adultish, with a situation with a celebrity trope where we have a small town setting. The celebrity, I think he's an actor who goes to the small town to kind of escape a very public breakup that he had, and there he meets the small town heroine. So yeah, this kind of setup is kind of, at least in this book, I found that it was done a bit in a corny way, in a way that kind of has been done before so many times that it's no longer kind of piquing my interest, and it's kind of predictable for me. So I did finish it, but I'm gonna say it's just not my cup of tea anymore. So I gave it 3 stars. It's not a bad book in any kind of way, shape, or form. It's just not to my taste anymore. So I did finish it, but I gave it 3 stars. Another author that I definitely wanted to try out before I go to Rare in Florence is Marley Valentine. I've heard all good things about Without You, and this is the first book that I picked up by this author, and it's a really emotional male-male romance, and it deals with a hero whose brother has recently passed away. And his brother was in a relationship with another guy, and this guy, I think his name was Julian, he's in a really bad place when his boyfriend comes to pass. And the two of them, the brother and the boyfriend, the two of them didn't really get along very well, but they kind of fall into a situation where they are going to be grieving together and kind of helping each other out. And it turns out that they actually have a lot in common, and that they actually catch feelings for each other. So this is a very kind of loaded, emotional, and very tastefully done story, because obviously whenever you have a situation where one of the heroes was in a relationship with someone who has passed away, they become a widower in some way or another, and you know how society always puts pressure on the person. Do you move on? Do you kind of respectfully wait until you get into a relationship and stuff like that? I found that in this book, just the approach towards such a delicate situation was done very well, and I really enjoyed the story. I really enjoyed how they started to communicate with each other, even though at the beginning there was a lot of animosity between the two of them. And also there was kind of like a bi-awakening for one of the characters, obviously, because he was straight when, I think at least he was straight when he started off communicating with the other character. And it was just a very tastefully done story, and I really enjoyed it. I gave that one 4 stars. So when I saw that Storytel had the new release by this author that I wanted to get to as well, the book is called What We Broke, and I found out that it's a marriage in trouble situation. I immediately dove into that one as well, because I love the marriage in trouble trope. It's one of my favorites, and it's very difficult to pull that one off. And in this one, typically, at least what I've found is a lot of times marriage in trouble as a trope revolves around some kind of a situation where there is grief going on, maybe loss of a child or situation that involves IVF. So in this story, we have that as well. So be aware that there are trigger warnings for loss of a child. Basically, we've got a male-male situation as well. The two of them are very happily married, and the two of them have had an amazing romance. And in the story, we actually see flashbacks of them falling in love, and then the present situation of how things have gotten out of hand when they lost their child, where one of the heroes has substance abuse issues and the other one basically is trying to save them from themselves and from the grief that they're feeling. And this book also is very emotional, obviously, but also deals with grief in such a very interesting way, because both of the characters are channeling their grief in completely different directions, and it's interesting to see how the two of them cope with the same situation. So I really appreciated how this book was done as well. And the marriage in trouble trope, I found that it was done well at the beginning, but I did have a bit of a criticism towards it, and that is they both went to therapy, which I absolutely love and appreciate. But I found that, I don't know, there wasn't like a gradual situation as to how the problems that they had solved themselves, but it was like an aha moment. And that was kind of, I had hoped that it would have been different, because I found that it really went fast towards the resolution of their situation. I would have loved to have more of an exploration of how they can deal with such a difficult situation. So that was my only criticism towards it, but I really liked it. I really, really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars, and I would definitely pick up more books by this author. Another author that is going to attend Rare in Florence is Ivy Fox, and I picked up a book, again through Storytel, an audiobook. It's called Room for Three. This one I didn't enjoy as much as I would have hoped, because there is a gorgeous cover to this book, and typically I'm very much influenced by covers for some reason. I don't know, I'm very visually kind of triggered or something. I don't know what it is, but I really love the cover for this book, and I had hoped that I would love the plot as much. But I kind of didn't. It's a new adult story where we've got the heroine who's part of this basketball team. She was, I think, kicked out of her previous team because she got in some kind of a fight with one of her teammates, and she's moved over to another team. And she needs to go to this university where, because she has kind of a unisex name, they made a mistake of placing her in the same kind of dorm. I don't think it's a dorm, I think it's a house actually, where she's going to share a room with 3 other guys who are all on the basketball team, but the male basketball team. And because she has a unisex name, they thought it was a guy who's going to live with them. But yeah, basically she ends up rooming with 3 other guys, and it's a why choose situation between herself and these 3 guys who all have different characters. One of them is very grumpy and very kind of standoffish towards her. The other one is immediately smitten by her. The third one is kind of very much like a suave guy with a lot of banter. And yeah, it was kind of, again, very predictable, very kind of corny when it comes to the why choose element, because it didn't leave any surprise or any kind of intrigue within the plot. And the theme was all right, but I don't know, I've just maybe read better executed why choose romances than this one. So I just gave it 3 stars, because it wasn't a bad book per se, again, but it just wasn't what I was looking for maybe at the time. And yeah, I'm not sure not sure what else to say about it. It's just that I'd hoped for more. So I was really happy to see that Storytel has uploaded Off to the Races by Elsie Silver as an audiobook, and I immediately picked it up when I saw that I had it available to me. And I had really hoped that I would love it as much as the Chestnut Spring series, but this one actually, obviously it's written before the Chestnut Spring series, so it's kind of overlapping with a couple of characters that are within the world of the Chestnut Spring series, like the brother's sister, Violet. She's one of the side characters within the book. But I don't know, I think that Again, it's a small town romance. It involves a ranch where we've got the hero, I think his name was Vaughn. His grandfather has recently passed away and has left him this farm, but at the same time, kind of a scandal has put some mud on their family's name, and Vaughn very much wants to clear up their name and kind of get more profit off of the ranch. They have this amazing horse that they want to profit from, but nobody can train this horse, and this is where the heroine comes into the story. She is a trainer. Her name is Billy. And here we've got kind of a similar situation of, because she has a unisex name, that he thinks that she's going to be a male trainer, but when she comes in, she's obviously a woman, and he's kind of very much surprised by the fact that she's a woman, and he doesn't know that she's the trainer, so he kind of goes off on her, and she kind of bites his head off because he sounds like a misogynistic type of guy. But they immediately have an attraction together, and the attraction was fine within the story. I mean, I didn't mind anything regarding their relationship together, and I loved Billy as a character. Elsie Silver writes such strong female leads. I absolutely loved her. But then again, I did notice that this story is definitely more rushed and not as well developed as the Chestnut Spring series. You immediately kind of notice that just the craft that Elsie Silver has started to develop has developed more and more as she writes with the Chestnut Spring series. But with this story, it's just a little rushed and a little not as executed as well as the other books. So I gave this one 3 stars. When I compare it for myself, actually, now that I think about it, like the book that I mentioned previously by Ivy Fox, I really didn't enjoy it as much as Off to the Races. So if I have to compare it, actually, it would be less than 3 stars. Well, this one is a really solid 3.5 star read for me. I really did enjoy it, but it's just when I compare it to the other books by Elsie Silver, it's just not as well executed as the other one. So it definitely, I cannot give it 4 or 5 stars. So I definitely will continue on with this series as well, where I want to read obviously Violet's story, and I think there is another girlfriend of theirs that is going to get a story, or that has already a story but needs to release on audio as well. So I'm going to be reading on. But yeah, I definitely appreciate the growth that Elsie Silver has shown within her writing, the other stories that I've read by her. So yeah, I'm curious to read more. All right, time to talk about the only 5-star read that I had in a later portion of July. It's Happy Place by Emily Henry. I know that everyone is divided on this book, right? Because Emily Henry is towing the line between romance and women's fiction, and I do get the criticisms and I do get everyone's opinions. That I understand why everyone is divided on her writing style as well as how she approaches certain tropes. But this one is just special to me. So I think that it's a 5-star read with very personal kind of undertones. The things that I appreciate are very much things that kind of I've come across in my own life, in my own situations, and I appreciate that Emily Henry has taken the time to kind of shed light on these specific topics that really kind of hit home for me. This is another kind of relationship in trouble situation, or maybe it can be called a second chance as well, because within this story we've got Harriet and Wynne, who have been in a very long relationship, and they've come to be in a relationship through their friend circle. And the biggest kind of fear for both of them is that should they break up, they fear that their friendship group will never be the same because they'll be divided. So already kind of when they got together, all of their friends were like, so you can never break up now because otherwise we won't be the same. So the fact that they've broken up, but at the same time their best friends have invited them to their annual trip that they do to the specific place that they go to every year, because there's going to be a surprise wedding. They were like, we cannot ruin this for our friends, so we're going to pretend that we're not broken up, and we're going to kind of let them know that we've broken up after everything is finished, so that we can still keep these wonderful memories to the event that is going to happen. And what really kind of hit home for me is the way that the relationships are portrayed. It's not just the romantic relationship, but really the friend group, and how much when they were young, everything just seems so easy. The friendship that they build is so natural. It's just characters that are drawn together, and experiences that they live through that kind of bring them together even more, and them very much through kind of rose glasses, thinking nothing is ever going to change. We're always going to be this amazing friends group, and we're always going to love and appreciate and respect each other, and we're always going to find a way towards each other. But then life happens. So a lot of things happen. Careers are built, families are built, and you get less and less time together. And how do you make time for each other? And is it worth it to make certain concessions or certain kind of compromises with maybe your own relationship with your partner, so that you can build on something with your friends, because you've known your friends for your whole life, and vice versa as well. There's just so many topics that I find very fascinating when it comes to friendships and relationships, and how they work well or don't work well together. And I found that Emily Henry executes such conflicts and discussions really well in a very concise way. So there doesn't need to be a very big blow up, very big fight or anything, but really the small hints towards the fact that people change is just something that really hit home for me. So I think that this is a very special story when it comes to relationships, not only romantic, but also just general relationships with friends, family, and loved ones. And I just loved it. I really, really loved it. I think that this is going to be my favorite Emily Henry book, even though I loved Beach Read and I love People We Meet on Vacation. I think this is definitely going to be my favorite one, because it's the most personal to me. And yeah, I really loved it. The last book I managed to pick up is by B. Celeste. It's called The Truth About Heartbreak, and I picked this book up because I hope that B. Celeste is going to make it to Rare in Florence. And it's another very emotional, very angsty read. It's a one that spans throughout many years for the hero and heroine. The heroine in this story is adopted by this family when she's about 14 or 15, and she's been in the system for almost all her life, and she's gone through so many horrific things when it comes to the foster care system. And when she gets adopted, she's very kind of skittish, obviously, because she doesn't know if this is going to be a situation where she can get to stay, and she doesn't know the people that she's going to be with in the future, and she's kind of closed off. And the love interest within this story is the heroine's adoptive brother's best friend. We get to see how they immediately have a connection together when they're teenagers, but he gets a girlfriend and he remains with this girlfriend throughout many years, meaning that there's this right person, the wrong time situation going on throughout this whole book, and the always been you trope as well. And there's a lot of there's trigger warnings for this one. So we've got a situation where there's cheating involved, so if you don't like cheating, this might not be the book for you. There's also a situation going on regarding abuse, physical abuse and mental abuse as well, so be aware of that. But when it comes to the story itself, so the romantic story, there's a lot of angst going on, there's a lot of pining going on, there's a lot of not really miscommunications, but more like situations where they want to be together but cannot be together for certain reasons, and it gets really frustrating that the hero is not as decisive as we want him to be, because he is with this other woman. So yeah, you want to chuck the book through the window a couple of times when you're reading through this story, but it was definitely worth the read. I really did enjoy it in the end, and I really loved that the heroine really stuck up for herself and was like, I really want to be with you, but I don't want to be with you if you don't choose me first. And it's just, yeah, it's just angsty and messy, and I love angsty and messy typically. So yeah, I really enjoyed this story as well, and I gave it 4 stars. Sorry, I think it's like a gazillion degrees in here. It's so hot, I'm melting away, and I'm happy to say that these were all the books that I managed to finish in the later part of July. I'm actually going to link my previous wrap up, so the first couple of reads that I had at the beginning of July, up in the cards above if you want to check that one out. And please let me know which were your favorite reads of the month. Did you read any good books, any 5-star reads? Did you read any of the books that I mentioned? Did you like them? Didn't you like them? Let me know in the comments below, and I hope to see you very soon in the next one. Have a wonderful, marvelous day. Happy reading. Take care, and bye-bye.